and welcome to episode 11 or 12. I can't count, I don't know. But good news about this episode. It is the first one that is being streamed live on YouTube. That is great. And then
Fancy.
our little rundown for today will be the NFL, um, NFL, NCAA football, NCAA basketball, because they also started earlier this week. And then to end off the night, we will talk about the NBA, because some news about the whole gambling situation came out today from Shams Charania. So, yeah, you ready to get started, Dad?
Let's go.
All right. So, I'm sure what a lot of people woke up to this morning was the very unfortunate news of defensive end for the Cowboys, Marshawn Kneeland, died today in a apparent suicide. So thoughts and prayers go out to his girlfriend and family. Really sad to see that. He was a second round pick last year in last year's draft out of the out of Western Michigan, and it's really hard to be drafted in the second round, especially from Western Michigan. You got to work really hard and get scouts out there. So they say it was apparently a self-inflicted gunshot wound after he was involved in a high-speed chase in Frisco, Texas last night, and 3 hours later, at probably about 1 in the morning Central Time, they found his body.
Mm. Yeah, that's the whole thing is sad, but I think you put it perfectly. Thoughts and prayers are with his, family. I don't know if he has, kids or not, but with the Cowboys organization and his Western Michigan family, it's just a terrible deal. The whole of it. Just there's not really a whole lot you can say, is there? Is that it's
Mm-mm.
just a terrible, terrible situation. So maybe tonight hold your loved ones a little closer and be thankful for those that you do have. And if you know somebody who is struggling with something, reach out to them and see what you can do, because there are people who are hurting everywhere. So yeah, you never want to start off with news like that, but our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, probably his parents and
Mm-hmm.
all those that knew him and loved him. And 24 years old. I remember 24. I was 25 when your mom and I had you. So you think you have a lot of time left when you're 24, but we don't know. We don't know what tomorrow holds, do we? So yeah, thoughts
Mm-hmm.
and prayers go out to him and all those that knew him and loved him.
Mm-hmm. And then Tuesday was the NFL trade deadline, so teams cannot make any more moves. Some big names that were on the move, though, are names like Rashid Shaheed, Quinnen Williams, and Sauce Gardner, Joe Flacco as well, Jacoby Myers as well, were all on the move. Um, so we found ESPN has a full rundown of every trade, but we'll probably mainly talk about the big ones here. So, when the Jets trade for Quinn Williams, Cowboys got Quinn Williams. The Jets got Mazzy Smith, a 2026 second round pick and a 2027 first round pick. I think the Jets at this point are just hitting a full reset button after trading away your two cornerstones, and but they didn't trade away Brees Hall or Garrett Wilson. A lot of people were thinking at some point during the deadline, especially Brees Hall. A lot of people thought that Brees Hall was going to get traded. What do you think on that, Dad?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar. I'm just looking here at the details. The Cowboys got Williams. The Jets got Mazzy Smith, a 26 second round and a 27 first round. Um, so ESPN has the Cowboys graded as an F, meaning they failed. but the Jets is an A. So that's a lot to get or give depending on what side of the ball you're on. But man, to give up a second round, first round, and Smith, ESPN and I quote talks about it's a horrific trade for the Cowboys. The Cowboys, who have already, given up, is it Micah?
Hmm.
So now they're giving up draft picks within the top 2 rounds. Um, I don't know, but what can you tell about Mozzie Smith in addition to these picks? And
Well,
Quentin Williams. I mean, is it worth essentially 2 picks and Mozzie Smith?
I don't know why the Jets accepted this trade. Mozzie is apparently looking at his stats here. He is a backup defensive tackle. So far his season stats so far is no solo tackles, no sacks, no forced fumbles, no interceptions. Looks like he was on that Michigan Natty team though, but he only has 3 tackles it looks like, but none solo. So
Mm-hmm.
he's been conjoined in all of the tackles he has so far this year. I just thought the Jets would probably accept for maybe a starting defensive tackle, but looks like the Jets got fleeced. I mean, with the Cowboys, you built up your middle defense, but with the middle, because didn't they also get a defensive tackle from Green Bay? I believe they did. Yeah, they did. They got a defensive tackle from Green Bay. So I think you can't run up the middle much against the Cowboys. And then the next big trade was on here Saints trade Rashid Shaheed to the Seahawks. The Saints get a 2026 fourth rounder and then a 2026 fifth rounder. I think with the Seahawks, you now got a solid guy at the number 2 spot. You got JSN and then Rashid on the right side. Rashid so far this season has 499 yards, 44 receptions, 2 touchdowns. So I think that's some solid wide receiver 2 picks, wide receiver 2 stats. And then I think the Saints are also just rebuilding because I think they also have 1 win this far into the season. What are your thoughts on that trade?
Yeah, for me, this doesn't make a whole lot of sense for the Saints. Um, unless they're kind of offloading as well. Just reading about Shaheed, 1.8 yards per route this season, but now he's going to be a complement to JSN. So that's going to give him some more opportunities. They have Torrey Horton, and then apparently when Cooper Kupp gets back, that's going to give some tools to Darnold. So it gives Darnold more options. ESPN kind of has this roughly as a toss up. They give the Seahawks an A minus, and they give the Saints a B plus. So they kind of feel like it was a fair deal. The thing about this is Shaheed is a pending free agent. So will the Seahawks try to keep him to lock him up, or is this just something they feel like can give them a second or third or fourth, with that rookie back there, option to kind of put them over the edge as far as the playoffs relate. This again, ESPN says the Saints are not rolling in cap space like the Seahawks are. Um, they could land a compensatory pick for Shaheed. Um, but again, New Orleans is 1-8. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they're kind of doing what maybe they're cleaning house, kind of like the Jets are doing. But I think if I'm Shaheed, I'm excited. I'm going from the Saints to a team that has a
Yeah.
legit shot to do something in the postseason.
And then next trade, probably the biggest trade of the whole deadline, was Sauce Gardner to the Colts. The Jets got Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver Adonai Mitchell, and 2 firsts. Adonai so far this season has 9 receptions, 152 yards. So he's probably probably below average. It's probably a wide receiver 3, probably 3 or
Mm-hmm.
4. And then of course the Colts got Sauce Gardner. I saw a video this week that I probably agreed with the most, and they said that not the Jets, the Colts are trying to capitalize and get as much as they can out of this season because Jonathan Taylor is having a pretty crazy year at running back, and then Daniel Jones is playing really well. I think both were in MVP conversations at one point this year. I think Jonathan Taylor is currently in MVP discussions. So I think they're just trying to build up the defense a little bit. Because I think they still got DeForest Buckner on defense, who's a solid defensive player, and then now you get arguably best cornerback in the league, Sauce Gardner. So what do you think about the Colts getting possibly the best corner in the league?
I think it's huge for the Colts. I think it's terrifying for the rest of the AFC in particular, perhaps the NFL, because the Colts are already right there. What, like 2 losses? We looked the other night in ESPN and some other, resources that we read kind of have the Colts as a legit contender. They're going to win that division, but as a legit contender to make a serious run towards the Super Bowl. Raise your hand if you thought that coming into the year. But ESPN has the Colts grade as a D and the Jets grade as an A. I don't know how you give the Colts a D. I know they gave up. Maybe it's because they gave up 2 first-round picks, 1 in 26, 1 in 27. But you picked up Sauce Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how that's a D unless
Sauce is only 25 too.
unless they feel like the Colts gave up too much. He is an elite. Already a first team All Pro in his last 2 seasons. Defensive Rookie of the Year in 22. I think you're right. I think the Colts kind of see this year as an opportunity. Maybe they feel like they're ahead of schedule. Who'd have thought that Daniel Jones was going to play like he has? I don't know much about the Colts, defense. Does the front office in Indianapolis kind of feel like their defense is suspect and they're trying to shore that up? ESPN again. You talked about this window. ESPN says it's understandable that Indy figured that this was the time to strike. The Colts have had the best offensive football in the NFL. So maybe they're just trying to shore it up, and again maybe they just feel like their window wasn't expected to be open, and they just want to strike while the iron is hot. But I'm just trying to figure out who in the world thinks that getting this guy Sauce Gardner, why you think that's a D. I can see why the Jets is an A. You pick up Mitchell, who's young, and you get 2 first-round picks. But I just think I think the D is low. Must be because they feel like they give up too much of their future.
Yeah, and also on here, I'm reading the Javarius Ward part. ESPN said that Javarius was having a very good season prior to when he got the concussion. So I think if he comes back to that same level, Javarius, then it's going to be really tough to throw against this Colts defense
Mm-hmm.
against especially in the postseason because you got 2 elite cornerbacks guarding your top 2 receivers. You got Sauce probably taking on wide receiver 1, and you got Javarius taking on wide out 2. So that's gonna probably force the offense to probably switch things up a little bit, run the ball a little bit more, or maybe or just throw to the tight end a bit more. But I think that's a good move and trade by the Colts. And I think they're trying to just capitalize on the really good season that they're having right now because a lot of people had this team tossed to the side at the beginning because
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to decide who's going to be your starting quarterback, Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. And at the time, people are like, what is this team going to do this season?
You can't say the Colts got worse, and the Jets got. Who knows what those picks can eventually turn into. The thing about the Colts' potential 2026 pick is if the Colts do make a deep run, that's going to be a low pick in the first round because obviously the better you play, the further you go in the playoff, the lower your pick. So, they're at this point in the season right now, they're looking at a low first round pick. I know it's still a pick, but you had to think the first part of the year, the Colts would have had a top 10, top 12 draft pick based on what everybody was expecting out of them, including me. They're kind of like the Indiana of college football, but they've just shocked everybody. Interesting. again, I don't see the Colts having a D there. I would disagree with that. I think the Colts are very happy.
Hmm. Then the next trade is the Raiders trading wide receiver Jacoby Myers to the Jags for a 2026 fourth and sixth round pick. I think for the Jaguars, this was a way to strengthen their receiving core because last year Brian Thomas Jr. closed out the year extremely well, and people thought he was going to have a breakout year this year, but Brian Thomas has been a little disappointing this year. So far this season, Brian Thomas has 420 yards and a touchdown. But if you look at his stats from last year, it is very different to what he's having right now. So like so far through 8 games played, he right now at the pace he's right now gonna have 20 less receptions, about 13 less targets, and then about 400 less yards receiving wise at the pace he's at. But so yeah, not so he's been a little disappointing this year, and then Travis Hunter has bouncing been bouncing back and forth between the injury reserve and being on the field. So far, Hunter has 298 yards and a touchdown. So I think for the Jags, I think this is a good trade. Get your wide receiver room built back up a little bit and get a solid guy like Jacoby Myers in there. So what do you think, Dad, on this Raiders Jags trade?
I'm not super familiar with these players, but none of these guys are setting the world on fire. You have Jacoby Myers, um, 33 receptions on 49 targets, 352 yards, averaging just over 10 yards per carry. No touchdowns. Longest of the year was 45. No rushing, so no rushing touchdowns. No fumbles, no fumbles lost. Projected this year under 1,000 yards. They don't have him. ESPN, excuse me, does not have him projected for any touchdowns. So yeah, I think with this one, you're just kind of trying to give help to some of these guys that you hoped were going to help you, maybe a little more than they have, and Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter. Um, so they're and that's what Schefter and ESPN say. They're Jacksonville is turning to the trade market for reinforcements. So maybe by taking the pressure off some of these guys, maybe by spreading everything out a little bit, giving Trevor Lawrence another target or two, maybe that's what they're thinking. Because right now the Jaguars are kind of mid-pack. They're in the same division as the Colts we were just talking about. Probably not going to win that division. Maybe a wild card. So, yeah, the again ESPN gives the Jags a C plus and gives the Raiders an A minus. As again, the Jags got Jacoby Myers and the Raiders got a 2026 fourth and sixth. So I don't know, Jer. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it was just because I think as of right now, what is the Jags are 5-3 right now, so I think they're just trying to do. I think they're just trying to I think they're just trying their best to probably stay afloat right now. Is probably the best way I can think of to put it right now. Stay afloat and try to stay above 500 and try to fight for a playoff spot in the AFC. So I think this is a good trade for probably both teams. So right now Las Vegas is hanging in by a thread at 2-6, and then Jacksonville, they're just trying to. I think they're just trying to stay afloat at 5-3 and trying to finish second in that division because you got Houston and then Tennessee, so probably not too much to worry about. Houston's been disappointing the past couple of years, and then Tennessee's Tennessee. So that's all I got there. You want to go ahead and look at scores for the week?
Yeah, and you've got the Raiders are playing right now against the Broncos. Raiders lead that game 7-0. They just kicked off or started rather the second quarter. So I'm looking at some scores from last week.
Yeah, we can.
You want to look ahead to this?
I think we looked at scores from last week on Monday, so we can go ahead and look at Monday night's game.
Okay.
which was Cardinals Cowboys. Jacoby Brissett had a really big game for the Cardinals. A lot of people are probably thinking he might take the helm instead of Kyler when Kyler comes back, but Kyler's been placed on IR. I think it's anywhere between the next 4 to 8 weeks, maybe.
Mm.
So they won't get Kyler back for till the end of the season, but a lot of people are thinking they should just move on with Brissett because I think the other day when we were at Tony Sacco's restaurant here in Heartland, that's really good. Um, they threw up a graphic on I think it was First Take, I believe, and just they showed the comparisons between how productive the offense is when Brissett's there at quarterback from last night and when Kyler was at quarterback. And Brissett's numbers were better in every single category. Um, in the box score here, Brissett had 261 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an average of 8.4 yards per pass. Um, it was just a really good. I saw where the defense for the Cardinals played very well. That was a big difference. They were just good at stopping the rush on the Cowboys, and they got a pick also on. They got 5 sacks as well. The Cardinals defense, they got a pick and 5 sacks for 40 yards. Um, so what do you think on Monday night's game on how the Cardinals just kind of manhandled in Dallas?
Yeah, yeah, at Dallas. I'm looking at Brissett his last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games against Carolina, Tennessee, Indianapolis, Green Bay, and Dallas. So perhaps overall, minus Indy and Green Bay, not the greatest competition, at least based on records so far this year. But the thing that stands out to me is 2 for 6 touchdowns for Brissett against 1 interception. And that 1 interception came against the Colts at Indianapolis in a 31-27 loss. So I think that's massive. I think that's what you want. He's on pace halfway through the year. To throw for nearly a couple thousand. If Kyler Murray is your future, maybe you do sit him, or if Brissett continues to play well, then what do you do with Kyler? Do you kind of put him in a trade package to see what you can get? What do you do? That opens up some options for you. Um, but unfortunately, during that stretch from September 14th till this past Monday, the Cardinals are 2-3. So not playing super great, but what sticks out to me, Jer, is that one pick that he's thrown against a couple pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm. And
Excuse
then
me.
there's an article here on ESPN Fantasy. Does Jacoby Brissett bring out the best of Marvin Harrison? I think that's another thing to probably look at, because Marvin Harrison, he's in his second or third year, and he's probably what a lot of people. He's who the Cardinals want to move ahead with. Be like their next Larry Fitzgerald and be that really good receiver in Arizona. And I think Marvin Harrison recently, I think, has been playing better with with having Brissett be his quarterback. And that in the last couple of games, he's had 96, 58, 32, 98, 66. But he has a touchdown against Seattle and Dallas, and Brissett was the quarterback in both of those games. So, that's another thing to possibly look for is, does Brissett bring the best out of their future wideout in Arizona, and who should Arizona move on with after this game?
Mm-hmm.
All right, week 10.
Yeah, that crazy week 10. So again, in Berlin, the 3-5 Falcons are taking on the 7-2 Colts. Again, Jeremiah is the NFL expert. I know little to nothing about NFL. I'm enough to be dangerous. But the Falcons kind of intrigue me.
Mm-hmm.
They get blanked by the Panthers, and then they lose. They beat the Bills. beat the Commanders a couple weeks ago, play really close to the Niners, but then lose to the Dolphins, and then play neck and neck, only lose by 1 point to the Panthers. So they're an interesting team. With the exception of that week 3 loss at the Panthers, 30-0. They're just nothing more, nothing less than this team really intrigues me, and they've got a tough game. They've got to battle the travel. They've got to battle the jet lag. All those things. Heading to Berlin, Germany to play the Colts. I wonder if Sauce Gardner's going to make that trip, or he's just like, you know what, boys, I'll catch you when you get back stateside.
That's probably really exhausting. You traded from New York to Indy, and then your first game as a
go to
Colt,
Berlin.
you have to go all the way to Berlin.
Yeah. But that's my take on it. The Falcons are interesting. I mean, on paper, you look at 3-5 versus 7-2, and you're like, you got to get the nod to the Colts. But the Falcons are interesting.
The Falcons have a good offense though, with Penix and Bijan, and then Drake London. I think Drake London's been playing pretty well recently, and of course their defense is really young too. Their first 2 picks in the draft. In the last draft, 4 of the 5 picks from the Falcons were all defensive. With the 15th pick, they took Jalen Walker from Georgia. He's a linebacker. Then they took James Spears from Tennessee. James Spears had a fumble recovery in the last game. So I think right now the Falcons are, as you said, a little bit of a interesting team, but they're decent on both sides of the ball. They have great guys. I think Bijan's arguably a top 5, probably top 5, top 10 running back in the NFL. So I would still give it to the Colts here, but I think it's going to be an interesting game for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It's again 9:30 our time here, obviously because of the time difference in time change. So moving on, you've got the Giants and the Bears at Soldier Field. Giants a very disappointing 2-7. Scadaboo's hurt. What's the update on the quarterback there?
I think Dart's still playing, but they don't have Scadaboo or Neighbors. That's their 2 biggest injuries.
I feel like the Giants have kind of been battling the injury bug in some really key positions. Bears, a very pleasant surprise, 5-3. 2-1 with the coach out of Detroit. I always get them mixed up. One went to New York and one went to Chicago. So forgive me.
Glenn is on the Jets. Johnson's on the Bears.
Thank you. But man, very surprising, 5-3. You gotta think. Just based on what the Giants are going through. This game's at home.
Caleb Williams has also been playing really well this season.
Playing well, almost 2,000 yards already for the season. 12 touchdowns against only 4 interceptions. So he's got a 1-to-3 ratio there. So that's what you need your quarterback to do, your young quarterback to do. But they win this game, they're 6-3, and they're right. They're right there. So let me look at one thing real quick. In that that tough NFC North.
Oh wow.
They have the same record as the Lions. They're basically a half game back of Green Bay because of Green Bay's tie.
Could you imagine seeing that to someone last year? The Bears and the Lions have the same record.
They're going into Week 10?
Going into Week 10, yeah.
So that shout out to the Bears. 5-3. That's impressive. I didn't see them being that, and their schedule. They played the Vikings, they played the Lions. They've played the Ravens.
Very up and down schedule.
Up and down schedule. Their schedule's not. I would say their schedule's on the easy side. Based on what teams are doing so far. I know there's no such thing as an easy out in the NFL. That's why it's called the NFL, the National Football League, the greatest football players in the world. But the Bears are 5-3. Presumably going to go to 6-3, and depending on what happens ahead of them, be right there, if not leading the NFC North, which is a crazy, difficult division to say the least.
Went back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And then after that one, you got the Bills and Dolphins. Bills should probably just walk in, handle their business. And then here might be a interesting one after that one.
Yeah,
Ravens
yeah.
Vikings. Of course Lamar just came back. Then you wanna know what's crazy? Justin Jefferson only has 2 touchdowns going into week 10.
Yeah, he's on my fantasy team, so I really need him to pick that up a little bit. But here's what's crazy: both quarterbacks are back. JJ
Mm-hmm.
McCarthy's back. He came in and beat our Lions last week. JJ's just I know I'm a Michigan fan, wearing my Brady jersey tonight, so I'm a little bit of a homer, but he's just a winner. It's not easy to go into Ford Field into that crazy, incredible environment and win, and they did. And with Lamar back and getting healthy, and Henry's already at 629 yards for the year, six touchdowns, and there's been a lot more weight on him. Even with Lamar's injury, he's already thrown for over 1,014 touchdowns to 1 interception,
I think that one interception probably came against Buffalo.
probably. And then he's gotta pick it up. Now he's had multiple quarterbacks throwing the ball to him, not had any.
It's also
any
not easy when Carson Wentz is your starter for a
yeah,
couple
you've had
weeks.
no consistency back there, so I'm not going to put all that on Jefferson. He's still JJ. He's going to get his.
Because yeah, in his 5 years, he's coming into his, I think, fourth quarterback. He will have 4 different quarterbacks in his only 5-year career.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins probably being the longest stinted one, and Darnold.
But Vegas agrees with us. They've got Baltimore 4.5 point favorites. So I know that might, if you're just looking at that 3-5 versus 4-4, that's gonna be a good game.
Mm-hmm.
That's a game you probably want to tune into. The next game, unless you want to talk about that, is probably a game you don't want to tune into.
You'll probably either A, take a nap, or you're a Browns and Jets fan, which
Yeah.
is probably rough to
The
call
Browns
yourself.
roll into New York, into East Rutherford, New Jersey, rather, and 2-6 takes on 1-7.
Is it weird to go on a limb and say that the Jets might go 1-16? Because they don't have.
Well, not only that, like they traded Sauce, so did they get better or worse?
I think they got worse because I can't name you probably another Jets defender right now. And then of course Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall are both. I don't think Garrett's been as vocal, but Brees Hall's been vocal about how upset he is about it. He had a post on, I believe, Twitter it was, after seeing Sauce got traded, and I think I could expect Brees or Garrett to be on the move in the off season because Brees was also in a lot of trade talks coming into the deadline because after the Jets traded Quinnen and Sauce, people are like, will Brees Hall get moved? So uh, I don't expect too much from the Jets so far this season. I think they might just go one
Well,
and
and
16. Just
that
tank.
that one there's a video on social media where this poor kid's like, I'm a Jets fan, but I was born into this,
Yeah,
So
I
I think
hate
he
this
speaks
team.
for yeah, I hate this team, but what do you say? I hate this team, but I was born into this or something.
Yeah,
So I think his sentiments echo a lot of Jets fan sentiments. But you have to think about the message too that the Jets front office is sending by, getting rid of Sauce and trying to accrue all of those draft picks. Are they sending the message of, okay, we see the writing on the wall, so we're going to start building towards the future? Cleveland's a field goal favorite, basically 2.5 point favorite according to Vegas. The total over under is 37.5.
dude, New York's got to be like draft pick central because the Nets are filled with picks, and then now the Jets are getting filled with picks.
Mhm.
And then this is probably my game of the week. They were talking about this on First Take this afternoon, but Patriots Bucks, both of course Baker has slowed down a little bit, but both quarterbacks have been playing excellent football. Drake May's been breaking out. So what do you think about this game?
Well, I think to your point, Mace throwing for almost 2,300 yards, 17 touchdowns against only 4 picks, so he's got better than a 1-to-4 ratio. I'm just going to say it may be a hot take. I don't think this is the presumptuous Super Bowl matchup,
Mm-hmm.
But based on the way these teams are playing right now, these two teams could meet up in
They
February.
could.
Again, nobody, hashtag whatever us, but 7-2 versus 6-2, leading their division. The Patriots are, tied with the Broncos as the hottest team in the league right now. The Bucks have Mayfield and have proven to be dominant in that division. So, again, a potential. Two very very good teams. Probably game of the day based on what we've seen so far. But Yeah, I think that's gonna be a game you want to watch. Both games are on 1 o'clock on CBS. So if you have a choice, go flip over and watch that Patriots
My
Bucks
only
game.
thing right now is I think Emeka Ibuka is going to be playing in that game, and as you know, he's the wide receiver one for the Buccaneers. My only thing is he has not played well. He against New Orleans, Detroit, and San Francisco, his highest receiving yards for that was 58
Hmm.
yards. So that's my only thing is not the best coming from your wide receiver one. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still hurt. So that's my only thing is will Emeka either bounce back or will he just stay inconsistent as of right now? So that's my only thing with the Bucks is that their offense hasn't really been the best, I would say, recently. Right now, I think Rashad White is going to be their starter with Bucky Irvin out. He also 35, 38, and 65 are his last 3 games. So not not much coming from the Bucks right now.
Yeah, I would disagree with Vegas there. I would give the nod to the Patriots.
Mm-hmm.
But still, here's something really interesting. The Patriots are 4-0 on the road. So that's pretty incredible. You out of your 9 games, you played 4 of them on the road, and you're undefeated on the road, which is not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Saints, Panthers. Saints coming in at 1-8. Panthers are very surprising. If 5-4 can be surprising, Panthers are surprising, playing over 500 ball. Um, they're only 5.5 point favorites according to Vegas, but the Saints coming in having again been in the news with some trade news. So, any thoughts on that game? Again, that game's at Charlotte.
I think the Saints. I was probably expecting the Saints to do a little bit more because, of course, they benched Spencer Rattler and then for Tyler Shaw. I thought they were gonna probably trade Chris Olave because he was the same as Brees Hall. He was in a lot of trade talks as well. Um, I thought they were gonna make some news or at least probably tank at some point in the season. But yeah, I think the it's not good for the Saints right now. I think the Panthers are just gonna walk into Charlotte, get their stuff done, and then head back home.
Yeah, next Jaguars Texans, an AFC South matchup. Jacksonville coming in at 5-3. Texans coming in at 3-5. So, Jerry, any thoughts on that? An AFC South matchup. That's kind of the battle for the middle, if you will. The
Mm-hmm.
Titans are holding out with the bottom spot, with the basement, if you will, and the Colts are kind of driving away, and everybody's getting smaller in their rearview mirror.
Yeah, I think this is a chance for the Jags to see if they can really stay afloat because, like we talked about earlier, the receiving core has been disappointing so far, and you just got Jacoby Myers from the trade, so I think this is where to see if they can still fight and claw to get to that last spot in the playoffs for the AFC, and see if they can keep second place at least because right now getting first is very unlikely in that division.
Even to your point, first in the AFC when you've got the Patriots playing like they're playing, Denver playing like they're playing the Colts playing like they're playing, Buffalo doing what they're doing. Who knows what Kansas City's going to end up doing? Baltimore's getting healthy, so there's a log jam at the top as well, which I think is another reason why the Colts made the splash they did with Sauce. Again, trying to capitalize on the momentum that they have. Um, Moving over to the NFC West.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Cardinals and the Seahawks. Cardinals again beating Dallas last week, or I guess Monday night, and then Seahawks come in at 6-2. Sam Darnold just keeps doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Again, almost 2,100 yards on the year, 16 touchdowns, 5 picks. So a 1-to-3 ratio. He'd probably like that to be a little better. Um, but again, Cardinals, trying to figure out what they're going to do at the quarterback spot with Brissett, and how long is Kyler going to be out. But again, Cardinals having to go into Lumen Field there in Seattle and battle the Seahawks in that loud 12th man.
Mm-hmm. Then after that one, you got this will probably be a fun one to watch. Rams Niners.
Yeah,
Christian McCaffrey's been having a
another division matchup.
really good year, but the 49ers, they're dealing with what they've been dealing with ever since they made the Super Bowl injuries.
Mm-hmm.
They've been fighting injuries. I think Fred Warner's already out for the year. I don't think Nick Bosa is hurt, but the Rams aren't they getting Puka back for this one, or have they had him back? I think.
Came back last week, and my fantasy had him for this week is I think questionable. Which I needed to be healthy because he was helping me destroy everybody earlier in the year, and now not so much. Not so much. So let me look at that also to see if I need to move anybody around.
So yeah, Rams and the Rams and 49ers are gonna play each other. Both of them have played extremely well so far. Mac Jones has played well. Of course, Christian McCaffrey has played well. The favorite is right now.
Right now, Puka's listed as a go for this weekend.
All right. Right now, the favorite is the Rams by 4 points. I would probably give it to the Rams as well with how hurt the 49ers are. They have a lot of guys that are out for the year. Let me see here. Yeah, right now, the injuries as of November 6th, so today, for the like the updated injuries for them are Bryce Huff, D. Whitmore, Brock Purdy still, and Ricky Pearsall. Those are the big names I can really see on there. Um, but I think if I go in here to the depth chart, we can see. All right, so out of their starters, their center Jake Bernard is questionable. Lot of questionable on the defensive side. Of course, you got Fred Warner who's out. Nick Bosa is also on IR. Mikael Williams is out. And one, two, three, four, five guys are right now questionable currently for the starters that are currently starting for the 49ers on defense. So, what are you thinking about that and the Rams being favorable and the Niners having so many injuries?
Yeah, I think with that many injuries, and Matt Stafford doing what he does, if Puka's really back, um, even Vegas is giving the Rams 4.5 points with the over under being 49.5. I just think it might be too much for the Niners to overcome. If anybody can, it's the Niners. I mean, they've proven they can be resilient. They've proven pretty much no matter what quarterback they put back there, he has a shot to succeed. But I just think based on all those injuries that you were talking about, what's crazy is the Niners, even with everything you're talking about, Jared, they're 6-3. They're a game out of the division. 6-2, 6-2, 6-3, all those things. And the game is at Santa Clara, home game for the Niners. But I would give the nod to the Rams as well. The next game is a matchup, a rematch rather. The Lions and the Commanders. The Commanders came into Detroit last year in the playoffs. Detroit with the number one seed, path all the way to the Super Bowl, and 5 turnovers, something like that, and lost to those Commanders. So the Lions have an opportunity to. I know they don't care about this, but guys like me think about weird things. But Lions going into Washington, I know there was that Daniels. So did you see that injury?
Yeah, it's very disgusting.
Nasty. Your elbow's not supposed to have been that way.
Yeah, it's not supposed to do that.
So I think the Lions are an 8.5 point favorite. I think they go in there and take care of business. Trying to see, looking at a couple things. Who goes at quarterback if Daniels cannot?
Let me see here.
Josh Johnson's listed as a QB. Marcus Mariota.
Okay, yeah, Mariota. So still, those I think they'll probably be fine. But yeah, Terry McLaurin's questionable.
And the Lions just lost a division game, at home, so they have a little chip on their shoulder. They should, whether they do or not, they should. Sorry, Jer.
Yeah. Terry McLaurin's questionable. I think he's been on and off the questionable list this season because, of course, in the off season, a lot of drama surrounding him on contract disputes. but they still got Debo Samuel, and I think if Terry McLaurin were to be out, according to the depth chart that's turned into ESPN on here, Chris Moore or Traylon Burks will fill in that spot, and they'll just move Debo to wide receiver one. But I think because of how hurt the Commanders are, I think that's why they're currently what's the record 3-6. Yeah, Jan Daniels, like you said, has been on and off the injured list, and so has most of that team. So I think that's what hurt the Commanders a lot was just injuries. But I think the Lions should probably bounce back and get the dub here.
Yeah, I agree with that. Then the nightcap, the NBC Peacock game.
I think that'll be fun.
Intriguing game. At least they're giving us a good one. Steelers at the Chargers. So Steelers coming in at 5-3. Chargers coming in at 6-3. So again, should be a very, very entertaining game. Vegas gives the Chargers basically a field goal edge, 2.5-point favorite. The over under 44.5. Don't know much about these teams. I know that the Steelers with their coach. What just went blank on his name. What's the coach?
Mike Tomlin.
Mike Tomlin. Thank
They
you.
also have a really rough defense. So
So their defense always there. Mike Tomlin's the embodiment of Pittsburgh. So they're always going to have a chance with him. But Chargers are good, with Harbaugh and Herbert doing those things. So I think it's gonna be a great game, back and forth. I don't know who you give the nod to in that particular game.
ESPN has LA
Mm-hmm.
and a field goal. And then Monday night to end off the week, we got a potential NFC title match and NFC shakeup match of Eagles and Packers. We talked a little bit about the Packers on Monday, I believe, saying we thought they were not big of a disappointment. We just thought they were a little bit of a disappointment. We thought they'd do better with, bringing in Micah, and drawing with the Cowboys was not what we were expecting from the Packers, as probably the entire country was. What do you think about this potential NFC title matchup?
Yeah, what's crazy about this is one of these teams is about to lose their third game. Again, I agree. I think if either one of these teams or both of them, were to ultimately find themselves in the NFC Championship game, I've been big on the Eagles all year. Packers, I'm just still not sold on yet. When you tie the Cowboys, that just kind of hurts your equity in my mind. But the Eagles they're going to be there. But I think, again, a very, very intriguing game. It's at Lambeau. It's going to be cold. Again, Vegas agrees with us. This game's a toss-up. They're giving Green Bay the nod, but only about 1.5 with the 46.5 point, over-under. Weather says it's going to be 30 degrees in Lambeau. I know, Sunday here we're supposed to, get some snow, so you wonder if that particular storm's going to roll through Green Bay and Lambeau, and they're going to be dealing with some elements. Even if it is nasty, the Eagles can run the ball. So I think one of these teams are going to help themselves and maybe kind of take a giant step towards, what is expected of them. But yeah, another game I can't pick. I think it's a toss-up, much like the Steelers-Chargers game we just talked about.
Mm-hmm. Then the teams on bye this week are Bengals, Cowboys, Titans, and Chiefs.
Well, your Titans will not lose this week, Chair.
They probably will still find a way. All right, NCAA football. Currently, South Florida is being the brakes off UTSA.
Yeah, the half.
At the half.
The half. 42-10.
All right, so
go ahead and put that in the win column for the Bulls of South Florida.
Northwestern USC, 19th ranked USC.
Mm-hmm.
That game. That'll probably be a fun one, but USC favorites by 2 touchdowns, taking on 5-3 Northwestern. Wasn't expecting.
Surprise.
It's a big surprise. Not used to seeing Northwestern be good.
Yeah, we thought with the exception of BYU, Texas Tech, which is where game day is going to be
this Monday.
A&M Missouri is very, very intriguing. Oregon going into Iowa. Iowa now ranked 20th.
Mm-hmm.
Man, here's something crazy. Miami ranked 18th. A couple, 3 or 4 weeks ago, many of us, me and Britton and you thought Miami might be one of those top 4 or 5 teams,
We thought they should have been number one.
but man, they not they're not. They're just
Mm-mm.
not. I don't know what's going on. I know
Beck's thrown
Beck is
apparently a lot
throwing
of picks.
picks. He got 14 touchdowns, 9 picks on the year. That's can't turn the ball over.
I think it's a lot. I think it's a lot like the C.J. Stroud thing. Because if you remember his rookie year, not much film was on him. C.J. Stroud was insanely good, but now ever since then, C.J. Stroud hasn't been too well. I think it's the same way with Beck right now. There's now film of him
Mm-hmm.
out with Miami. Because if I've noticed with Stroud, he has not been the same ever since his second season started. Now the NFL teams were able to look at him and evaluate him, and now I think it's going the same way for Beck. But they're taking on Syracuse, so
Yeah, you
I
got to
think
give
they
them
should win
a
this
favorite
one.
there in their home, but just man, seeing that 18 by them based on what we saw a couple weeks ago, now they're in a dogfight to even get to the ACC championship game, let alone the playoff. These rankings are probably playoff rankings now because ESPN released the playoff rankings for I guess, the first time this past week. But yeah, there's some intriguing games. Um, LSU Alabama's not what we thought it was going to be. Towards the first year, I mean LSU's 5-3, but they just fired their head coach. We did talk about a little sneaky game with Navy Notre Dame. Navy coming in at 7-1, Notre Dame six and
I
two.
think Navy was ranked for a few weeks.
Again, that game in South Bend. Oregon Iowa that's intriguing to me. 9 versus 20. Both teams 4-1
Mm-hmm.
in the Big Ten. A&M big test on the road at Memorial Stadium as they go to Mizzou. Um, but yeah, I think the biggest game is to state the obvious would be BYU coming into Texas Tech. BYU coming in undefeated, 8-0, one of only 3 or 4 undefeated teams in the country now.
Yeah.
A&M, or excuse me, Texas Tech coming in 8-1, 5-1 in the Big 12. That game's at Lubbock. It'll be a big deal, game day there, and I guess Hershey and Fowler be calling, so it'll have all the pomp and circumstance there in Lubbock. But, Indiana, Penn State, what could have been.
I think they're
You
being
know,
generous with Indiana getting
I
a 14.5 point
Indiana's
favorite.
just beating everybody.
They're beating everyone by
Um,
40
Man, I'd love to see Indiana Ohio State. Maybe in the Big Ten championship we can get that.
because Ohio State avoids everyone.
Their schedule this year. I mean, all you can do is play who's in front of you. And I know they tried to take the Texas game, not knowing what Texas would ultimately be. Give them credit, but they
Mm-hmm.
scheduled it at home. So
Well, they banned every noon kickoff. Like Ohio State doesn't want to play at noon anymore.
yeah. Well, they play the game. They play that team up north, what they call them. That's really their. Ohio State's gonna have at worst one loss.
Mm-hmm.
That last game of the year. That's really Michigan's next game too. I think we play Northwestern and Maryland before we play back.
After watching that Purdue game, if you guys do not have Haynes for Michigan State, not Michigan State, Ohio State, you guys are gonna get
I
destroyed.
think that's when he's projected back. Our saving grace in that game. I do think this is the year, and I hate saying this. Trust me, I have no idea how much it pains me to
I
say
think
this.
this is the year.
I do think this is the year that the streak is broke. But again, man, I know you can't live in last year, but last year Ohio State should have beat us by 60, and that's
Mhm.
being generous. They
Smith
should
should
have
have had 300
they should have
yards.
thrown the ball for 1,000 yards. Jeremiah Smith should have had 600 yards. They just tried to go toe to toe with us in the trenches, and that's the one advantage that Michigan has. Ohio State went out and got a bunch of coaches, but Michigan went out and spent a bunch of money, brings in Underwood. I know we're still a few weeks out. That game's always going to be competitive, but it
Mhm.
is at the big house. So,
Mhm.
and Haynes that's his target. They want to get him back by them. Marshall's doing okay in the meantime. And if we can just get it where Underwood learns that you don't have to throw a fastball every time, it's okay to throw a changeup and a curveball every once in a while, take some heat off it. But again, if you can play good defense, which the Wolverines can, and if you can run the ball, you've got a shot.
Mhm.
But that's still a few weeks out. Ohio State's going to dog roll Purdue. Anything else there?
We got new rankings, the playoff rankings.
New playoff rankings were released, huh?
So right now, your teams that are currently in the playoffs, I'm gonna quick fire this. For right now, the teams that are in there are Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Oregon, Notre Dame, Texas, and then Oklahoma. Your first four out are Utah, Virginia, Louisville, and Vanderbilt. Then after that, you got Georgia Tech, Miami, USC, Iowa, Michigan, Missouri, Washington, Pittsburgh, and then Tennessee. And then, so what do you think about this so far? The
You know,
playoffs.
at a glance, we've been kind of hard on the ACC, but the ACC has Virginia, Louisville, Georgia Tech, Miami,
I forgot
Pittsburgh,
it's
right?
SEC teams.
So a fifth of those are ACC teams, and I know that I just my point is wow, obviously SEC and Big Ten, dominating.
Hmm.
Big Ten has count them from Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon, USC, Iowa, Michigan, Washington, and then the SEC, right where we thought we were going to be Texas A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss, Texas, Oklahoma, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee. Um, I'm a little surprised at how low Georgia Tech is, 8-1 at 17th, but there they are. If they started today, as Jeremiah read, those are your 12.
Hmm. And then, you want to look at the coaches poll real quick? Coaches poll, according to the coaches, their playoff is Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon, Ole Miss, BYU, Texas Tech, Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Virginia. Their first four out are Texas, Louisville, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, and Utah.
That's pretty close. That's
Oh wait,
pretty
no,
close.
that was the AP apparently. My bad.
So the coaches poll has in top 12 Ohio, Indiana,
Yeah,
A&M.
there's
Yeah,
okay. I was looking at the AP
mm.
poll. I didn't scroll down.
they're
Wrong
pretty
one.
they're pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia interchangeable, but they're pretty close.
Mm-hmm. So that's so right now in the playoffs, those talks are starting to get put up. Predictions are starting to be made and all that. So I think that's everything for the NCAA.
Mm-hmm.
Ready to go on to college basketball as that has started this week as well.
Yeah, and my Kentucky Wildcats. I know I'm a confusing fan, but my Kentucky Wildcats. We have been up already this season, and then we were down.
Mm-hmm.
We beat Purdue. Granted, postseason or preseason game doesn't count towards the record, but beat them, and then lose to Georgetown. But granted, we're missing three or four, starters, so up and down. But then, Kentucky is 1-0, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
I think Tennessee, whoever they played, Mercer, Nate Mint went off. Did pretty well for his first game. Um, we're gonna probably have to look at this like weekly. We're gonna do so.
mhm.
Expect these NCAA men's stuff to be a little slow and clicky because ESPN. We'll have to let ESPN load and all that.
But yeah, the Kentucky was without Aberdeen. They were without Quintence. Probably pronounced his name wrong. Forgive me, buddy. They were without Lowe. And forgive me, they're like one more. There's one more guy they were without. So in that loss to Georgetown, just keep it up for what it was. And by the way, I will say this: Colin Chandler can dunk a basketball. That was crazy. But Kentucky 1-0, on our way to hang number 9. 1-0, and then your Tennessee Vols.
Gotta win.
A dub.
Yep. So Nate Met was a big pickup for us. So glad we got him. He was like, Ament was I think he was like third or fourth ranked, and then I think he was on the watch list actually to win college basketball player of the year. So I could see Tennessee. Hopefully, we get over that hump of the Elite Eight this year. I think we can do it with this team. Let's see. We got, so of course, like I mentioned, we got Nate Mez, pretty good. Got Cade Phillips, Felix Okepara, Jacoby Gillespie. Um, they were they did pretty good in that first game against Mercer. Let me see here.
Well, and give them. They played played Duke, didn't they? In the
Put up a good fight
preseason.
with Duke.
So I like that these teams are challenging themselves in the preseason. You had you know Louisville played and they lost. Kentucky playing Purdue. Tennessee playing Duke. Louisville played Kansas and Kansas beat them. Kentucky's roster stacked. You get Amberdeen from Florida. Chandler's back. Diabate from Alabama. Garrison's back. Hawthorne's Horn. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Jasper Johnson is a stud out of Lexington. Jalen Lowe from Pitt, huge pickup. Moreno is a stud. Trent Noah. Ortega Owe, your preseason SEC, probably SEC Player of the Year. Porter, Quintinsons, or I don't know how to pronounce his name. Forgive me, Jade. I'm so sorry. Out of Arizona State. Tao and Williams. Kentucky's looking strong. My thing with Mark Pope is I always knew the coach, X's and O's, one of the best. I just wasn't sure if he could recruit. Now, of course, if you have 18, 20, 30 million to spend in NIL and the transfer portal and
their football talks about
all those things, yeah, you're gonna recruit. Plus, you're Kentucky. But Kentucky's set to have a solid year. I think the SEC is going to be down just a hair. You don't have Bruce Pearl. Auburn's gotten older. Alabama's gotten older. I don't know about Tennessee. Not to say these teams aren't going to be good.
Tennessee lost,
but I feel like some of those teams were just, and they were so old with COVID rules and regulations and whatnot. I just kind of felt like Kentucky was always a step behind.
Teams are going to be even older.
Mm-hmm.
The new stupid rule that they put in.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll talk about basketball on Monday and Thursday because they'll play 2 or 3 times a week, some of them.
Mm-hmm. Currently going on, Florida is right now beating North Florida. Iowa's beating Grambling, and then Auburn's beating Merrimack, and then Louisville beat Jackson State. Go ahead and look at the rankings here. Of course, they haven't updated, so these are day one rankings right now. Your top 25 for men's basketball. Gonna quick fire this off here, but you got Houston, Purdue, Houston, Florida, UConn, St. John's, Duke, Michigan, BYU, Kentucky, Texas Tech, Louisville, UCLA, Arizona, Arkansas, Alabama, Iowa State, Illinois, Tennessee, Kansas, Auburn, Gonzaga, Michigan State, Creighton, Wisconsin, and then North Carolina. Teams that are getting votes are NC State, Oregon, and San Diego State. I think a new one comes out every Tuesday, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
So this Tuesday, I think Andy Katz and them will get a new top 25 out. But yeah, that's your tomorrow, Friday. Let's see. Tomorrow night, tomorrow night at 7 p.m., number 19 Kansas takes on number 25 North Carolina in Chapel Hill. UNC is the favorite, though, by
a legit battle of the Blue Bloods.
That'll be a fun one to watch.
Kentucky plays Valpo at Rupp, and Jalen Lowe is supposed to be back. Our all-everything point guard, so that'll be good to have him back.
Then Oakland plays Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
I know you love Oakland.
Oh, yeah. They did Kentucky a favor in the tournament a few years ago, didn't they?
Mm-hmm. And then on Saturday, Alabama, number 15 Alabama is taking on number 5 St. John's. St. John's are your favorite by 6.5 points. I think the reason St. John's is going to probably stay up that high now, because didn't you tell me they don't even recruit high school anymore? They just recruit out of the portal and get old guys now.
Yeah, I think most teams are going to be doing that. Home game for the Johnnies there at Madison Square Garden. But again, credit to these teams for playing these kind of games, early. Mm-hmm. Tennessee plays Kentucky. It's Northern Kentucky.
That'll be a good one. Michigan State taking on Arkansas.
Oklahoma Gonzaga could be good. Oh, Michigan State Arkansas, that's here in East Lansing. I'm gonna have to sneak over. We're supposed to get some snow.
And then Monday, the next time we will record, nothing will be happening. The biggest game right there will be Iowa State taking on Mississippi State in Sioux Falls, apparently.
Hmm. Interesting. Sioux Falls. Okay.
So that's so far. Men's college basketball is back. The next big game day after Saturday will be Tuesday, where Kentucky will play Louisville.
Which
So
is crazy. Like
that early.
crazy. Normally it's right up between Christmas and New Year. So I don't know how I feel about that. Road game at the Yum Center. L's down. That's all I gotta say. L's down.
Yes,
Go blue.
all right, and then to cap off the night, we will do the NBA.
I will sneak out for the NBA, not because I'm on with you, because I don't have anything I can contribute to the NBA.
All right.
So, thank you all.
All right, I will take on with the NBA, and if you guys are using chat, remember we do not have chat up, so please don't take it as we are ignoring you. But yeah, the NBA has already been off to a very dramatic start with with the gambling, with the gambling and the mafia, and news came out about that today, where Shams Charania said that the NBA will meet with Congress people in DC on Wednesday. The current game going on right now is Clippers and the Suns. Right now, trade talks are starting to come up with my Memphis Grizzlies after John Morant got suspended the other day for behavior towards teammates. A lot of people are thinking he might be traded, and it might be the end of an era for it might be the end of an era in Memphis. Tomorrow, Celtics are taking on the Magic. That'll be a fun game to watch, I think. Rockets Spurs. The Spurs, I think, are on a 2-game losing streak right now after probably starting this season hotter than anybody, really. That'll be a good game to watch, though. Houston is the favorite, despite that game being in San Antonio. I think the Spurs still have Dylan Harper out. Warriors and the Nuggets. You got an old Warriors team taking on the Nuggets. Thunder and Kings. Standings, I think there's no more undefeated teams. Yes, no more undefeated teams, with the Oklahoma City Thunder losing to Portland. A little weird how the team with the gambling coach. Right now, in the East, your top 6 teams are Chicago, Detroit, New York, Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Philly. Philly right now in the latest Rookie of the Year ladder. Right now, VJ Edgecombe is the Rookie of the Year favorite. I just hope it doesn't go like last year for Philly's rookies. Jared McCain was having himself a year, and then he misses the rest of the season with a knee injury. So VJ Edgecombe is the favorite as of right now. Second place was Cedric Coward on the Grizzlies, and then Cooper Flagg made his way into the top 3. The next 4 teams that are currently in the play-in tournament are the Atlanta Hawks, Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat, and Boston Celtics. Celtics, they'll probably start rising around January. That's when they're supposed to get their leader in Jason Tatum back after Jason Tatum tore his Achilles in the playoffs last year. Right now, though, between both conferences, both are just a big dogfight, but the West is a bit more spread out right now. Oklahoma, the defending champs, they right now have probably a target on their back, because whenever you're the defending champs, you're always gonna have a target on your back. Oklahoma City though is 8-1 right now. The Lakers are number 2 They're trying to hold their own right now. I know Austin Reeves had to carry the torch for a little bit with Luca and LeBron being out. I think LeBron's supposed to return at any moment now. Luca returned against the Grizzlies the other night. The Rockets in third after getting KD in the offseason with a really big trade. Denver fourth, San Antonio fifth, Portland sixth. Then your teams that are currently in the play-in are Golden State, Minnesota, LA, Clippers, then the Phoenix Suns. Right now the Mavericks are dead last. Not dead last, they're just last right now. Even though they traded, I still not a smart move by Nico Harrison. I don't know why you would give up. I don't know why you would give up Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. Um, that's just a little interesting to me. Um, right now, season leaders, as we're about 2 weeks into the season, Tyrese Maxey leads the league in points right now. Point average, he is averaging 33.5. Then Shea right there behind him with 33.3. Kentucky boys right now leading the league. Giannis, then Donovan Mitchell after dropping 46 the other night. Then Austin Reeves. Um, right now leading in 3-pointers made is Sam Morelli from Cleveland. And then Steph right there tied with him. Both are averaging 4.4. Um, it's been a pretty interesting season so far. Very drama filled as the NBA most of the time it is very drama filled. Going on Saturday in the NBA. Any good games? Bulls taking on the Cavs. Josh Giddey has been playing really well, almost averaging a triple double as a guard. He's averaging 23, 10, and 9. Um, Trailblazers are taking on the Heat. The Heat are without Bam Adebayo for that game, so I'd probably give that edge to the Trailblazers. But that is all for the NBA. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Um, we enjoy doing these. This is the first one on YouTube, so we hope that went well, worked well. Um, but yeah, every Monday and Thursday we just hop on here and talk about sports for an hour and a half, 2 hours. Um, so yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this. If you want to like and share, on YouTube there should be a bell after you subscribe that should notify you if you have notifications enabled for YouTube. If you have that bell, it will notify you whenever we go live, post a video, or just post a short, or just post anything. You will get a notification the minute we post it. So, anyways, hope y'all enjoyed this one, and we'll see y'all later.